everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Animation Pilgrimage. I am Tennille.
And I'm Sean.
And this week we watched Magic Boy!
Magic Boy!
Beautiful.
We watched the 1959 Toei animation film Magic Boy, which 1 or 2 years later was actually brought to America and had an English dubbing.
1961.
1961.
In June. And then, fun fact, this was released in America in June of 1961. And then the previous Japanese film we watched, the White Serpent, was released a month after in July. So, in America. So They actually got it, or we got it, out of order.
Well, no, we got it in the correct order.
Well, we did, but like America as a whole got it in the wrong order.
Yeah, they got it in the wrong order, and it's step down in quality for America back in the day then.
Right.
I'm just gonna say, Magic Boy looks so much better than the first one.
Yeah, this is a huge step up in animation quality, character designs, backgrounds were lovely in this.
Oh, yeah. I guess before we get too much farther, the reason we brought up the whole, release to America thing is because the only version of this movie we could find was the English dubbed version from 1961.
Right.
So, we unfortunately did not get to watch this movie in the original Japanese like it was intended, but the dubbing was fine.
Yeah, the dubbing was perfectly fine. There were some obvious things like the main character's name is Sasuke, and they call him Sasuke, or even at one point
Sasuke.
Sasuke, yeah. There's a couple of weird things there, but you know what? Like, for being a dub and for being a dub made in the 60s, I was pretty impressed.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, they did a pretty alright job.
And from what I could tell, it sounds like, at least with the songs that were in this film, they actually tried to just, literally translate the Japanese words.
Oh, that would explain...
Which explains why the songs are weird.
Yeah.
Such as the intro to this movie, Magic Boy!
Yeah, I guess, what is the Japanese name for this movie?
Shonen Sarutobi Sasuke. Yeah.
Which is literally... Well, a more direct translation to that would be something along the lines of Ninja... Sarutobi Sasuke? Is that his full name?
Yeah,
Sasuke?
yeah,
Okay.
that's his name.
Okay. Something like that. Ninja or samurai, whatever.
Ninja, because that was the other little bit of, tidbit of information I could find in this film, is that Metro Golden Mayer, that's their name, right? Metro Golden Mayer? The studio with the lion head is the one that produced this in America.
Oh,
or distributed it in America.
I don't remember what their actual name is.
And they wanted to invoke more of the idea of the samurai rather than the ninja idea in their advertising, because I guess to a 50s American audience, samurai were seen as something more honorable than ninjas.
I guess I could see that.
I suppose. Which, I mean, it's not a focal point of the film.
No, it's just this kid runs off and learns magical spells and stuff.
So he can defeat the bad guys. Yeah, I don't know. But this was very, very Disney-esque, and I felt like this film carried a lot more, I don't know, just class and style. I could see this film inspiring more films that leads us to, anime that we know today. rather than Tale of the White Serpent. Like, Tale of the White Serpent was cool because we got to see, like, that limited animation style that becomes important in anime, but this feels more like an actual real feature film.
Yeah, it feels a lot more fleshed out. Like, the action has actual action going on.
Yeah.
There are character interactions, there are motivations for characters that make sense.
My one big complaint probably with this movie is the facial animations.
Yeah.
There's times where it's like the character's supposed to be sad and yet they kind of have this like weird smile on their face. And it's just, the two emotions don't really jive all that well. But other than that, I really thought this film did a pretty good job.
Indeed. All right, so let's actually go over the plot of this film.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so this is the story of Sasuke, who lives out in the country with his many animal friends.
And his older sister.
And his older sister. One day, it was a whole scenario of things. Let's see, the sun bear friend accidentally disturbed some bees and or hornets, which then chased all the animals.
Yes.
Eventually chasing the deer Tinkles.
Yes.
Or Tingles? Tinkles?
Tinkles.
But either way, yeah, it's this young deer that has a bell on it, so it tinkles everywhere it goes.
Yeah, which was another sound thing that I was like, oof,
That's really loud.
Yeah, they could have toned that down just a little bit. There's a couple of scenes where they do it just fine, like it's not as loud, but then there's a couple of scenes where
that's like...
the only thing you hear, and it's like, oh gosh, please stop moving the deer around, because this is getting grating real fast.
Either way, so the bees are now chasing Tingles, and then... Tinkles. And then a giant hawk bird comes out of nowhere, picks it up, and takes it out to this lake, and drops it in the lake, where a giant salamander is there to eat the deer. Everybody goes running to help, including Sasuke.
By the way, this film is very Disney-esque in, like, tone and like, morals and that kind of thing. Like, it's a coming-of-age story for a young boy. Like, good versus evil, that kind of thing. Animal friends, all that kind of stuff. And yet, it's pretty violent.
Oh, it's incredibly violent.
But there's also no blood.
No blood, but, many people die.
Oh, yeah. This film's got a body count.
Yes. So everyone runs to the rescue. The first person to get there is the older deer character, who I don't know if they ever named, and I don't know if it's the parent of Tinkles or it's just another random deer.
Yeah, you assume it's one of the deer's parents.
Either way, it jumps into the water to help, and the older deer gets dragged under the water by the giant salamander.
I was having super bad, like, flashbacks, though, of, like, when the deer's just, like, swimming around in the water and it can't get out. I'm like, oh, God, no! Oh, it reminds me of Plague Dogs.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just like, yikes.
It's like, you're having flashbacks. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't think we've watched any films like that yet.
No, sorry. It's just, gosh, I don't like seeing animals in distress.
Yeah, no. So Sasuke jumps into the water to help and rightfully gets his butt handed to him because he jumped into the water where this giant salamander lives and obviously knows how to defeat him. And for some reason, him attacking the giant salamander allows the giant salamander to turn back into its original form, which is an evil witch.
Did you say that it killed the parent deer?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it dragged it under the water and like it just died.
Yep.
Last thing we saw of it was like the limbs sticking out of the salamander's mouth.
Yeah.
So yeah, one of the deer definitely died.
No.
Either way,
there is a nice scene though. Like, I was kind of afraid that like we were gonna have this horribly brutal moment and then there wasn't going to be any kind of like grieving period or like the film was just gonna move on like how sometimes these films do. But no, there was actually like this nice scene where it's like the baby deer gets out of the water and then it's like the animals are hugging and crying and they're like, oh no, our friend is dead!
And Sasuke, like, the giant salamander turns into the evil witch character. Does she have a name or is she just the evil witch?
Yaksha? Maybe?
Something like that?
Yeah.
Potentially.
But they do call her a witch.
For the majority of the film.
majority of the film. Probably just to help English audiences with names. But
Sasuke's like, I gotta kill her. She's evil and stuff, so I gotta kill her.
We actually get another cool scene that's like a flashback to an old emperor who knew magic and turned her into a salamander, which I guess was a bad plan because now she's just tormenting poor animals that fall into the water. Also, we never, like, it was never established if the hawk was like one of her lackeys or why the hawk dropped the deer.
Don't know. It's Hawk not appearing again in this film.
Yeah. Either way though,
so Sasuke.
But no, we get a cool visual of the telling of that backstory, and then the sister's like, Sasuke, please don't go. You know, wait till you're older to learn magic.
And Sasuke's like, sure.
No, I've got to do this.
It's like, fine, I guess I won't go. That night, he sneaks out.
Yeah.
And leaves. And Tinkles wants to follow, and he's like, no, get out of here. You're not allowed to follow me.
It's the whole, like, telling the dog to go away.
Go, run out of here. Get out of here. I don't love you anymore. I mean, not quite to that extent, but he's like, I need to go learn magic so I can save everybody.
And I also gotta say that even though the deer has that bell that's really annoying, the deer design in this is super cute.
Yeah.
The deer is so cute. I want like a plush of it. It's so adorable.
After he's gone, Tinkles goes back to the house, and Sister finds out that he's gone, and she runs out like, no, come back! And they're like sad because he's gone.
Right.
Sasuke is now just like wandering around, and he's like up in a tree eating fruit when a band of robbers shows up, who he kind of makes fun of, and then the witch is like, you guys work for me, and how can you not take care of this one kid? And then she's like, magic blast you off of the side of a mountain. And he falls to the bottom of a crevice.
So he ends up running into a hermit, and shock and surprise, this hermit happens to be the guy that Sasuke needs to find to learn magic from. So he spends the next 3 years?
Yeah, he spends 3 years through a series of montages learning to become a ninja. Like, actually a ninja, like, all the skills and stuff.
But with magic, you know.
With, like, magic, so he can, like, literally fly, teleport, blast fire, things like that. In the meantime, the witch and her robber crew are running around, pillaging villages, stealing their stuff. At one point,
And then they run into Angelica from Rugrats.
Yeah, there's just, like, this little girl who they try to steal her chest of belongings or something.
We never get, like, I was hoping for there to be a reveal. We never find out what's inside it. Yeah, of what's in the chest, but it's nothing.
I don't know, but yeah, there's like these two cartoony guys that are part of the villain crew, and they're like, we need to get rid of this little girl, but we don't want to kill her. You need to go. And she's like, no, I'm not going anywhere without my chest. And we're just like, okay. Alright, so we got the obnoxious little girl character, alright.
Well, and the comic relief villain guys.
Yeah, one of which only ever hops everywhere.
I love that animation detail, honestly. It's just such a weird little quirk. I don't know. I love it.
The prince, or the ruling guy of the local, of the area,
hears about these bandits and is trying to take them out, but like he knows that he can't go up against them because he doesn't know where they are. And he also knows that the witch needs to be defeated with magic, I think. At least that's been established that like they probably need something else to help defeat the witch.
Yeah, something like that. while just randomly out in the woods, they run into Sasuke's sister, and then that's when we find out it's been 3 years later, because he's been gone for 3 years. He went to learn magic and stuff.
And
also,
by the way,
bandits live in the woods over there.
Yeah. She's just like, oh yeah, I know. And he's like, we've been trying to find them for years. Like,
Also,
yeah.
you're totally super hot.
Which is weird because the prince and Sasuke look very, very, very similar.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where if Sasuke grew up and then just like cleaned up his look a little bit,
Right.
they could definitely be the same person or brothers or something.
Yeah, because the only difference between them is that Sasuke is obviously younger.
And he's
his
got
hair
like
is
shaggy.
Yeah, his hair is a bit more ragged.
As compared to the clean cut of the prince guy.
Yeah.
The old man is like, all right, Sasuke, you've learned enough. You should go out and
I've taught you everything I know in 3 years.
Yep. All right, get out of here. Go on, go defeat the witch or whatever.
Yep.
So
And then
he goes home. No.
Well, he goes home, but before he gets home, the bandits find out that the sister has revealed their location, and to the prince, or as a friend of the prince. And
So they're like,
they go.
all right, we're gonna kill her.
Yeah, so they go to try and kill her, and they burn her house down. She and the animal friends get away.
They escape to a cave.
Yeah.
At the same time, the two buffoons are like, all right, we're finally gonna kill this little girl by throwing her off a cliff. And Sasuke appears out of nowhere and saves her, and then like runs them off.
Right. So Sasuke and the little girl are together, and then together they go back home, see that the house is a pile of ash, and then they go and they find his sister and the animal friends.
Yeah. And then then the sister tells him to go talk to the prince so that they can take down the witch. So he does that, and like, this is actually a good scene because it's like Sasuke is like sneaking into the prince's room, but the prince is not a fool and immediately knows where he is, even though he's like walking around being invisible and stuff.
Oh yeah,
and using illusions and things.
They immediately form kind of like this cool bond because
it's like, haha, you're cool and powerful, and they're like, haha, you're also cool and powerful.
Yeah, like the prince throws a knife right at where Sasuke is, and Sasuke just like grabs it midair, and yeah, and then they're all cool after that.
And
so
like,
totally cliche, but like this is probably one of the first times this has ever come up, especially in anime. So I'm like, oh, you know what? That's pretty cool.
So, anyways, they all decide to go together to defeat the witch and all of her crew, and everyone gets involved for some reason.
Oh yeah.
Oh no! What happens is the sister gets captured again, or actually gets captured this time.
Yes. The sister gets captured, and the witch is like hanging her from a cliff, and it's like, Sasuke, you have to listen to me, or I'll kill your sister. Or I'll just kind of like, yeah, but Sasuke, you can fly?
You can fly, you have magic.
You can teleport?
Either way, he lets her beat on him a little bit, and then they actually start fighting.
Yeah.
In the meantime, the prince and his guard, who is this big, strong guy with just a giant metal club, are literally killing all of the robbers.
Oh yeah, like just running their swords through like half a dozen people.
It's like 1 or 2 might make it out of this alive, but everyone else is very much so dead.
Oh yeah.
And the prince, of course, is the one that gets the honor of saving the girl then.
Yes.
Because they look at each other once and they're obviously in love and stuff.
Yeah, they're the couple of interest.
So Sasuke and the witch have a big old magic duel, and they're throwing all kinds of elements at each other. And
much better than the magic duel that was in White Serpent.
The White Serpent, where it's like, yeah, there's nothing going on except like the screen kind of flashes. No, this time, no, he's actually blasting her face, like straight in the face with fire, and she's turning into wind and stuff.
The little animation they do whenever he casts fire, I actually really liked. It has like a nice impact to it. Like you can always like feel like the force of it. Yeah, it's like ooh, that's nice.
That's some good fire.
Yeah, and when he finally hits her,
she ages.
She starts to age, and we're like, huh, what's going on? But it's a cool effect, and then he hits her again.
And she skeletizes.
Yeah.
She just turns into an actual skeleton, loses all her clothing, hair, everything. She's literally just a skeleton feebly flying away.
I'm pretty sure when this happened, we were both like, whoa!
I have not seen...
Like, we had an audible reaction to that.
Yeah, we have not seen anything to that extent up to this point in any animated film, because most of them are made in America, and like the villains die off screen. They don't turn into skeletons.
Well, yeah, ever since like the end of the 30s, and we've had that like huge, like, you can't do this in cartoons because children watch them, and that kind of like killed the Fleischer Bros and all that. Like, we haven't seen that kind of thing in animation for a while.
And it's like, oh yeah, this is Japan, and they don't care.
Right.
They're actually totally cool with doing whatever the heck they want in animated films, which is awesome.
Well, and then we get like the most brutal moment.
Yeah, he like
Sasuke
magically
just
flings. Is it his sword? Or was it a knife that she threw at him? Okay, yeah. I think it was just a knife that she tried to throw at him, and he's just like, nah, thanks. And he magically throws it through her skull, which, I mean, there's nothing else there at that point. And
but even still, it's
just
like pretty...
a satisfyingly thunk against the stone behind it. I'm like, oh, okay. And then she's dead, and she like crumbles to bits, and like, that's it.
Then washes away in the river. And it's something like, in today's atmosphere of animation, like I wouldn't even blink twice at it. But just that we haven't seen anything like that recently.
And like, at this point in animation
pilgrimage, we got some action in this film.
Yeah, at this point in Animation Pilgrimage, which we're like 2 decades in, pretty much, this is the most brutal death on screen so far.
Yeah. Yeah, on screen.
On screen,
because it's not like an implied death like some of the Disney films did earlier.
Where like characters fall and like, oh, they're dead or whatever. No, this was like, shown on screen. You saw every second of it.
Because like the Snow White death's pretty brutal, but you don't see it. So...
Like I said, most on-screen violence in a movie so far.
Oh yeah.
And there's no blood.
Yep. and then the characters are all just like, there's one more scene to like just say everybody's happy.
Everybody's happy. Hey, Ninja Boy or Sasuke, you should totally come work for me in the castle. And he's like, sure, all right.
Yeah.
And then like presumably the sister becomes the prince's wife or
they don't get that far
or something.
They don't get that far, but yeah, you're just like, all right, yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely a thing now. And the movie ends.
Yeah.
And then we get
Magic Boy.
And then we get some American singer coming in and singing this hilarious song where he just straight up describes the brutal death and just like a lighthearted sense. You should put that song at the end
of this. I will. I will.
Because it's just like, whoa, this is such a weird disconnect to hear some random American guy in 1959 singing
about this very graphic, brutal death.
This very graphic, brutal death in a lighthearted manner at the end of an animated movie.
Oh, yeah. Good stuff.
It was super weird. But I loved it. So
yeah, this film is definitely not perfect. And it's not even good by today's standards, but I think by 1959 standards.
Oh, this is amazing.
Yeah, this is awesome. Like, this perfectly fits in with like any other kind of like 50s action movie. I think this one's really cool. And
just talking about toys,
Arc?
No, not Arc. Getting better. Improvement.
Progression?
Yes.
Yeah.
All of those words.
Yeah.
I was just failing at words there. It's just seeing their ability to get so much better between this movie and
the last one.
Which, when did that the White Serpent, when did that come out? Was that 58, 57? Was that
something
earlier?
Like that?
I don't know. It was. I mean, it wasn't that many movies ago.
I'll put the year back up.
Okay.
Here.
So that level of improvement between these two films is astounding.
Yeah, I mean, they looked back at their last film and they said, okay, the limited animation thing that we tried doesn't work well for full-length feature films. And
I'm also wondering if they just had a bigger budget available for this one.
It very well could have.
Yeah.
I'm
guessing it did. And I think it really played off. And I don't know if we talked about how this film was actually brought to America, but this is actually credited as the first ever Japanese animated film to be brought to America.
Yes.
Which is really cool, and I think it's a good first one.
Yeah, I do too.
I wonder how many weeaboos and otakus were created way back in 1959 from this film.
Yeah,
Just like
I'm
the super old
too.
otakus who may not be alive anymore.
Oh, I'm sure there's some still around.
Yeah, probably.
But like, I would genuinely love to hear if there's anyone who's like, oh man, yeah, I loved seeing this in the theater. Granted, who knows, maybe this did horribly because we've got a bit of a story to tell here. We had to buy this film because there was no copy to rent online, nothing.
Yeah. So we had to buy an actual physical disc for this.
So we bought it, and this disc, guys, is like one of the saddest things I've ever seen. I was kind of dreading watching this film because I was like, oh no, if they've put this little effort into the packaging of this, like, how bad is this movie? But this disc, it's just one disc. If you flip it over, it's on like one of those crappy DVDs where you can literally see how much data is on the disc.
Because like you can see how far it burned into the disc, and there's like less than a third of this disc was used.
Yeah, and so we put it in the DVD player, and it comes up. There's no like trailers before you get to the main menu screen. It's just the main menu screen, and the only thing on the disc is the movie.
All it says is play movie. That's your only option. There's no music. It's literally just the poster of the movie. That's it. There's nothing to go off of here.
Yeah.
It's hilarious how little there is.
And I don't think this movie deserves that because I think this was pretty good.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the best movies we've seen in a while on Animation Pilgrimage, I would say.
Oh yeah.
And I guess also that being said, this is the last movie of the decade. This came out in December of 1959, and so this is the last movie for the decade.
For the 50s. We
finished the 50s movies.
Woohoo!
Hooray! Huzzah!
It's only taken us months.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Wait for the 60s. That'll take us, like...
almost an entire year.
Yeah.
Because we've already started plotting out how many movies we're going to be watching, and yeah, it's going to be at least 3/4 of a year.
Yeah.
But with that being said, before we move on to the 60s, we still have a few episodes left, because as you remember at the end of the 40s, we are going to be doing an episode on the shorts of the decade.
So we're going to talk a lot about Chuck Jones, we're going to talk a lot about the UPA, and we're going to talk a lot about Disney, of course, because we always talk about Disney. But yeah, we've got the shorts to cover, and we're finally going to start talking about television shows as well.
Because while those technically started in 1949, that was the first year that animated television shows started. They didn't really start until this decade. So we're just going to wrap all that up together. So that's 2 episodes. So we got an episode for shorts, an episode for the TV shows, and then we're going to do our awards ceremony again.
Yeah, where we just kind of go over the whole decade and do a little reflection, talk about what we really liked from the decade, what we really didn't like, and all that kind of stuff, and then we're going to jump into the 60s.
So, yeah, join us back here next week as we get started into these awesome wrap-up episodes.
Yeah. See you then.
The boy could now work magic, so when he fought that witch, it was the wildest fight you ever saw. The witch was breathing fire. She shot a thunderbolt, but Magic Boy was quicker on the draw. He blew a wild, exciting hurricane, and then the wicked witch began to run. He blew it at the witch. She fell into a ditch and crumbled up into a skeleton.